Welcome to Skol with Steggie, presented by the Skol Purple Podcast, where every week we bring you artists and content creators to talk football and fantasy. Here's your host, the one, the only, Steggie.
Well, welcome everyone to the Skol Purple Podcast. Of course, this is the 5th episode of Skol with Steggie. Certainly welcome back. We'll talk a little football. We're going to talk a little Thanksgiving this week with Thanksgiving coming up. We do have a very special guest with us, which is Eli from 10,000 Takes. Eli, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Steggie. I'm in good spirits right now, despite what I'm sure the last game we'll talk about here pretty soon. But like you said, it's Thanksgiving. You know, the weather was a little bit nicer today, a lot nicer today, actually, than last weekend. For those of you that watch your Minnesota Gophers in that weather, I don't know how you did it. But, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I haven't left the house since Sunday, so I wouldn't know. I've just been like a troll hanging out in my basement after that horrible loss that we had, 40-3 against the Cowboys. I know we were talking a little bit, pre-show about that game, but yeah, what a brutal game. What a weird week. I think in a way, it's nice to have this game so quickly because I only really realistically got to feel bad about myself as a Vikings fan for like 24 hours. And then it was immediately on to like Thanksgiving, and we got a game on Thursday. So I'm going to be honest, Eli, I'm a little excited.
I am too. It's nice, like you said, to have this so quick. JJ said this, I don't know if it was, today's Wednesday, so it had to have been yesterday or Monday. Hence the nice short week. But he said, we have a bad taste in our mouth, and it's nice that we get to get rid of this taste in about 3 days. It was that game on Sunday. I mean, bad is an understatement. We were talking about this before as well. There was just like an atmosphere and an energy going into this game where it just kind of felt weird because I don't even want to say it was an emotional hangover, but I guess you could say that after the Bills game, which was, probably the craziest regular season game in Vikings history and up there for NFL history. There's obviously a couple more, but it's like the vibes were so high. The atmosphere was great. And I felt like I don't want to say moral victories because there obviously wasn't anything good to take away from this game. Other than that, this team it feels like we needed this to kind of just get hit in the mouth, and it couldn't have came at a better time, right? Especially not January. We're sitting here, we're still 8-2, and everyone's all I'm seeing on ESPN all week is, well, then Vikings fans are going to be saying we're still 8-3 and yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's the case with this team. Like you said as well, when we were chatting at halftime, it still kind of felt like we were in it. But when it came down to it, you could just tell there's just something was about it where we just kind of, it was over and it was on to Thursday, and thank God it's a short week. But I really am looking forward to see how we're going to respond after getting absolutely embarrassed on a national stage and at home. It's the grand slam there. We hit all four. But, thank goodness this is a short week. I'll just leave it at that. Let's get, and we don't have to go on the road. We don't have to travel. We didn't travel on Sunday. For the most part as well, people stayed healthy. I know JJ's toes kind of bugging him, and we're going to lose Booth. But other than that, and Darisaw as well, so let me backtrack there. I don't think we stayed as healthy as we'd like to, but nothing like season-ending, nothing crazy like that, to where majority of guys are still going to be able to play. So I'm excited. I'm excited to eat some food, and I'll actually be going down to the game Thursday as well. So it's going to be a long day for me.
Well, that's going to be awesome. Yeah, that's going to be rocking for you. I hope you have a better experience with the holiday game than I had. I don't think this was last year. It might have been though. The Christmas game against the Packers.
Yeah. Was it last year or was it well, it wasn't the COVID year. See, the COVID year screws everything up for me.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm messed up. But I went to that game, great seats, Monday night, and the place is rocking. I mean, really, look, you can't take away from the presentation, right? You get to the stadium, it's all decked out. The pregame is amazing. The amenities are great. I'm a big fan of US Bank Stadium. And so all of that being said, that game was trash. It was terrible. We lost. We got our asses handed to us by the Packers. and it was like Merry Christmas.
Right.
But it was super cool going to that game. I've been to some other kind of higher profile, like I've been to a playoff game or two, and it's just there's something a little different about those holiday games when they get scheduled. Um, so yeah, hopefully you have better luck, and I think you will. We'll probably get into that a little bit more when we get into kind of the state of the Vikings, but
Yeah.
I do think the short week helps. It helps reset the mind a little bit, as you already mentioned. The Darisaw injury definitely scares me a bit. I'm not as scared of New England's defensive line. I mean, I don't think they're a poor defensive line, but this isn't Micah Parsons like we saw against the Cowboys.
Right.
So I'm a little, I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll say that with that injury and how it's going to impact us. But that's the big one. You never know with these concussions. Let's hope with the mini bye, with them playing on Thursday and then having that few extra days without having to play this weekend, that Darisaw is able to get right and get healthy. And I know it's tough with those head injuries, so
Yeah.
hopefully we get him back in short order and not too soon, because those certainly can be from a personal standpoint obviously not good for his health, and then from a longevity standpoint, you get a couple back to back, which he already had. That could be something where he's out for an extended period of time, and I think that could be pretty detrimental to the season. So we'll have to see. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for some food, some football. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays as a football fan. It's hard not to be.
And we get the night game, which is kind of the best of the best. So you can enjoy. I don't know. I know a lot of families obviously do Thanksgiving different. Usually, so my parents usually start at about 11 a.m., which is fairly early. You can get there, kind of get the plate right before kickoff for the 11:30 game. And then, obviously do your Thanksgiving festivities during the day. Then I'll go over to my girlfriend's place at about, a couple hours after 2, 3, be able to spend a couple of hours there and then head on down to Minneapolis and, hopefully see a Vikings win. So it's going to be a long day, but I'm up for it. I'll be stuffing my face from 11 all the way till after the Vikings game. And, but it's like you said, there's some sort of special buildup. And I know that Monday night game against Green Bay was terrible because that was for the division, if I'm not mistaken, at the time.
Yeah, we were in the hunt.
We were in the hunt right there. And that was, because that was Christmas, so towards the end of the year. And we picked off Rodgers. Anthony Harris had that nice interception right away, and it looked like we were going to blow him out. And Aaron Jones fumbled. And that's when Anthony Barr did it's too bright. The lights are too bright for you. And then he basically is still running to this day.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. It was just brutal. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm right there with you on the Thanksgiving schedule. I don't know why. On Thanksgiving, I feel like Thanksgiving, if you celebrate Christmas, I suppose might be pretty consistent. 4th of July is another eating holiday, where for whatever reason, we just decide to start right away. Like when's dinner? Dinner's at 11. I don't know, but the best part is that late game, you nailed it. I'm just excited to watch the Vikings, maybe have a little slice of pumpkin pie, a little bit of Cool Whip, maybe even get some dinner rolls, make some cold turkey sandwiches.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm still hungry, it's like 8, 9 o'clock. We ate dinner, 8 hours ago. So I'm definitely excited, man. It should be a ton of fun. One question I always ask every guest that I bring in, that at least is a Vikings fan, who would be, if you had to nail one down, and I suppose your age probably, informs this a bit.
Right.
But if you had to nail down one favorite Viking of all time, who would that be and why?
I was looking at this. We sent the email, and I don't want to just give like a basic answer like Justin Jefferson, like, you know what I mean? Just the most, or even something as simple as Adrian Peterson. Even though both those answers, I mean, you can validate either one. It's a fair point. I would love to, say Randy Moss, but technically I can't say that. So I feel like that's cheating a little bit.
Sure.
So. And then I was thinking, maybe go like the Bryant McKinney route, just because he leads the team and probably any other team in arrests in the NFL. Like it's not even close. That dude is
the love boat.
Yeah, the love boat. which is hilarious. But this one's not that far fetched. I will say Percy Harvin, just because that's really when I really became kind of a fan. Because what year was he? The year he was drafted and then leading is really when I kind of started paying attention to the Vikings like thoroughly as much as I do now. And just when I always remember there was not really like a player even in today's game. I guess you could Cordero Patterson maybe is who
I think Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, or Deebo, right? Yeah, something like Deebo where like you're like anytime he gets the ball or whether it's a kick return or if it's a jet sweep in the backfield, you're like, what's he gonna do now? He was just one of the most explosive and he never did anything the same. Like every time he got the ball, he's going north, south, east, west, doing jumping up. It's just craziness. And so that's kind of my reason why is just he's the player that really got me fully invested into the team. Where even when I was young, I'm 27 now, so I guess when I started watching the Vikings, before being a teenager, that's just kind of the player that stuck out to me the most. And he was actually the first jersey I bought as well. So,
well, people forget his rookie year was the 2009 season,
right?
With Favre and going to the national or the NFC Championship game. So it was like, yeah, I mean, it just kind of gets overshadowed. And one of those things too is think about from Percy's perspective, like that's his first year in the league. His first year in the league is with Favre and Adrian and all the craziness and the circus that was that year. It's kind of like unrealistic expectations. You look at Justin Jefferson now that we're starting to get some traction, things are going well for this team. I'm almost certain that he probably appreciates it just a little bit more because he had to go through some years where obviously he was doing really well, but the team was still kind of waiting around and struggling and obviously going through the coaching changes that we've gone through. So, I'm not saying that Percy was like ungrateful. I think if it were me, it's like, I'd almost expect that every year. Like, yeah, this is great. Like, can we just do this every season?
No kidding.
Yeah. So Percy's a great pick, man. He was the first kind of Swiss Army knife, in my opinion, in the league. So yeah, good pick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you even go back because I remember the one play that really it was against the Steelers, which is a game that we lost in that 2009 season, and we had just gotten screwed on the drive before that led to a Steelers touchdown, and Percy houses the kick, basically kind of like making a statement like we're not out of this game yet. And I can't remember who, but I remember the alignment on our team or some, I guess probably wasn't a lineman because it was kick return, but he flattened the official on that return. If you remember.
Oh.
So that's one that always has kind of just stuck with me. But and he kind of, and it wasn't as long as a career as it could have been with the Vikings, right? But he had some issues, and then obviously all the stuff came out after. But boy, when he was a rookie, man, that it was just must see TV.
Yeah, well, yeah, he had the migraine issue, and then he was obviously self-medicating with some THC products, we'll say.
Right.
I mean, all I can say is, look, if that's how you're performing,
right,
and maybe you've had an edible or two before the game, just imagine what he'd be like without the edibles. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think it's a performance enhancer, is all I'm saying.
No,
I think that if he weren't needing to take the edibles, I mean, he might still be running to this day. So
exactly, yeah. So
that's all I'm saying.
Yep, right. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but whatever helps you with that. I mean, I can't admit, the migraines and having to play an NFL game every Sunday. I'm sure that that's just not the best combo. So honestly, he handled it a lot better than I'm sure a lot of other guys would. So
yeah. Oh, I can't disagree. And I'm going to say for me, it's definitely Randy Moss.
Right.
I've got 9 years on you. So my first, and it was a similar deal though. Like I was obviously pretty young. And when he hit the stage, obviously he got drafted in 98. So I would have been 12. So that was about the time that it was like, I'm really starting to pay attention to football in a meaningful way. Not just like, yeah, my family's around, because all my family are big football fans, big Vikings fans. So it was kind of bred into me that way. But I didn't really start paying attention and really kind of looking at it from a critical eye until I started playing football myself, which is probably right about that time as well. So yeah, Randy was the super freak. He's amazing. I still think that if Randy had the quarterback play some of these other receivers have had, I still think he'd be probably the best wide receiver ever to play. I think he would have eclipsed. I know this might be controversial. I think he could have eclipsed Rice, but that's a lot of that staying healthy too. I mean, Rice played for like 30 years. Not
Yeah, he's still playing.
But it just, but in today's game, it's hard to get that longevity. So who knows? Who knows? But I still think he's probably the most talented combination of traits I've ever seen at the receiver position.
It would have been fun to see him get that ring. And Percy did get a ring too, by the way, with with Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And he
did.
And he had a kick return for a touchdown.
He did.
He did. So kind of a nice staple to his career there. But Randy was the Giants he lost to, correct? And was that the Tyree helmet catch game?
Ooh, so if you're going back to the 01 season, that was the 41 donut 2001 NFC Championship game against Kerry Collins. And I'll never forget, I have some extended family that's all from the Northeast, so like New York, New Jersey. And I'm outside, and I'm 15 years old, or 14, 15. And the game obviously is going terribly. So I had some friends over, and I'm like, can we just go out and like play football out in the street? So I'm out there playing football in the street with my buddies, and I'll never forget my uncle putting up this sheet of paper on the window, and it just said 41-0 on it. And I still don't talk to that uncle anymore. But no, it was fine, but that was not a great experience. I mean, the biggest letdown wasn't that 01 season, was just the way we lost stunk, but 98 has to be, just because I mean, we were 15-1. We were the best team in the league, in my opinion. And I just think hands down that was the year. I mean, you had Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Randall Cunningham, just closing his eyes and chucking it up.
Yep.
We had a good enough defense, Robert Smith, good offensive line. I mean, all the pieces were in play. We had the highest scoring offense in the history of the NFL that year. Obviously, it's been broken since.
Yeah.
But that was our year, and it just didn't pan out. So that was a heartbreaker. But
yeah,
what are we gonna do? Such as being a Vikings fan.
Yep, I was just gonna say that's, and it's been the same way ever since. So
yeah, exactly. Well, that's a nice little segue into how you're feeling about this team this year. Like, how you feeling about the Vikes this year? You feel like they're going places? I know we talked about last week. Let's try to compartmentalize Eli.
Yep.
It's just one game, but how are you feeling on the season as a whole? Where do you think we're going? Do you think we're Super Bowl bound? Where's your head at?
And and it's kind of like you said, going off of the 98. I mean, that team was just the team you thought was, obviously a lot of people did think was the best team in the NFL, right? And there was something just special about that team. I'm not saying that by any means are we the best team in the NFL. But as far as where I'm at with the team right now is I am still very happy with where we're at. And like we talked before, it's almost good that we got humbled on Sunday. We thought that, like, I went, I like to compare it as last year I went to the Rams game, and this obviously was on the verge before Zimmer was canned and all this crap came out about what was going on in the locker room, and the culture, whatever you want to call it, was just toxic and negative. Guys didn't want to be there. Guys didn't want to play for Zimmer. Guys didn't want to play for – it was just a mess, right, a disaster. And when I went to that Rams game, and you got to the stadium, and it was kind of just a weird lull. Like, there wasn't – because we were still in it at that point. And it was – there was just something there. And then it came out afterward. JJ was speaking to the meeting. He goes, yeah, I got to the locker room. I could tell it was dead. Nobody was going to show up today. Guys weren't like really jamming music like they should. And
yeah,
that's, I don't want to say like guys weren't fired up for Sunday, but that's just kind of the atmosphere I was feeling from not even being at the game. It just kind of felt like, just from following this team as close as, we do, it was just kind of like, we were still talking about the Buffalo game, which is great, right? That was a great memory. It was fun it'll be fun to talk about that game for years to come. And hopefully that'll lead to something special this season. But this Dallas game was just weird. And then boom, you saw it from the third play of the game. It was basically over. The strip sack fumble. We did tie it 3-3 actually, and then the Hawkinson drop touchdown. But even then, I mean, like we said, this team came from behind basically week after week after week, where everyone's still bought in. Even at halftime when we were down 23-3 or whatever it was, we're like, okay, we still have a chance, but really, there just wasn't a chance in hell.
Yeah, it was that was rough, man. It was, little did we know, maybe we should have tried putting chains on Zimmer. I mean, there's an idea.
Yeah.
Instead of Kirk, maybe we just should have got everybody together, threw some chains on Zim Dogs.
Yep.
And see if he could, perk them up a little bit.
But, a little, but or something. But we don't. We made a rule on our show. We don't. I said we're not allowed to say the Z word anymore. So that's why I've been holding it in a lot lately. So I had to let it out on this show. So
you're in a safe space, Eli.
Yeah,
Eli, you're in a safe. We're in the trust tree. You're in the nest.
The trust tree, I like it.
That's right.
But no,
yeah.
So, but there's something about this team where, like, obviously we could use the Buffalo game for an example where it never really felt like we were going to lose that game. I know when we were down 17 points to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, that's a crazy thing to say, but there's just some fight in this team where this last Sunday, it doesn't discourage me at all. It was putrid on every phase of the game, right? Special teams, defense, offense, pregame warmups, they probably were beating us in. I mean, but yeah. I'm really just excited to see, and this Thursday, tomorrow night, will tell me what this team really is and if they're capable of actually doing something special. And we don't need to go saying raising Super Bowl banners, but just basically get to the NFC Championship, which is a huge accomplishment. Obviously, we want the big one, right? But how is KOC going to have the guys respond? Basically saying, look, you guys just got embarrassed on a national stage to where the national CBS, they flipped the channel because it was that embarrassing. Like, this is all bulletin board material where I hope we walked in there. I'm not sure which day was the off day this week. It was probably yesterday, if not Monday. But whenever we walked in where the full team was together, I hope he put that up on the bulletin board along with 40-3, just to get just something that Zimmer wouldn't do, where it's like, I'm not going to be the rally kind of hoot. This team needs that because there's a lot of younger guys in this team. And then there's leaders who are going to get behind that, like Kirk, like Zadarius Smith, like Eric Kendricks, that are going to be like, all right, we just got embarrassed on national TV. Are we really going to do that back-to-back weeks in our own building? So if that's not enough for them to respond, I don't know what will, especially the night game. A lot of people are done with Thanksgiving, like we said, by that time, and they're home, so everyone's watching. You got the Detroit game on as background noise, unless you're a fan. You have the Dallas game on, and you're watching with your cousin or your uncle or whatever. But then this is the primetime game, especially with a lot of people not working on Friday. All eyes are going to be on us. So what a spot to be in. Let's go out there and kick their ass. And I'm talking, what an ass kicking at this point with this team, 10 points. Let's win by 10.
Yeah, exactly. My goodness. It would just be nice not to feel like I'm at the edge of my seat, like the whole game. It would be nice to kick back, get a little gravy on my shirt, and I feel like I can go wipe it off. And I'm not going to miss anything. That's all I'm saying.
So that's where it's hard to say. Right now, I'm in good spirits. This team, it's better that game happened in November than in January, right? Because how fun would that have been if we were in a wild card divisional or wild card round and Dallas came in here and just beat us 40-3 in the playoffs? Like, I don't know if I'd be able to handle that. So
yeah, I said on our post game, I mentioned the fact that I would have rather us dropped a game against Dallas than have it be the Lions or Chicago a little bit later this year. I mean, at least it's against a team that, at least statistically speaking, is playing well. They are a playoff team, in my opinion. And so, this is a team that certainly we could absolutely face in the playoffs. So it's better that we get punched in the mouth by a formidable foe than just some maybe more inferior team. Not to say they're not talented, but you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah, exactly. And or even like a Washington loss. I think a Washington loss would have been awful.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about that game like, it is kind of a trap game. They're going into a bad environment. I don't care. It's the Commander. I don't think the Commanders are good. I don't care that they're 5-4 or whatever the hell their record is. That would have been a lot worse than like getting blown out, getting the doors or the gates, I guess, blown out of US Bank Stadium. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is this spot where what better place could we be in right now to where all eyes are going to be, and everyone's against us already. You know that. You listen to any national news. I mean, it's the low hanging fruit, right? Kirk Cousins can't perform in prime time. Well, I mean, I'm not a big wins and loss as a QB stat kind of guy because there's so many more factors that go into a game. It's a team. That's why it's one of the best sports in the world. All 11 guys have to do their job at all times. But so let's go. I mean, let's win a game by 20, 30 points. Why not? The big bad Patriots, like, they barely beat the Jets. So the Jets have a good defense, right? They're a legitimate defense. Their offense is disgusting. I mean, hence their little bratty quarterback, which is just some punk kid in my eyes. I went on a rant about him yesterday to one of my buddies. So the only reason that kid got drafted where he did is because he made some pretty throws at his freaking pro day on air. Like, give me a break,
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go out and say, nah, not my problem. I completed 8 passes. You're gonna hang your team out to dry. And so the Patriots beat him by a walk-off punt return for a score of 10-3. Come on. And I get, they shut out the Lions. That's because, Belichick's Belichick, right? But at the end of the day, he's not on the field. He's not executing these plays. He's not executing his game plan. I'm worried about. Am I worried about Judon? Well, he's no Micah Parsons, but he's a force to be reckoned with. But I think, yeah, I think KLC is gonna be like, all right, well, here's what we didn't do to Parsons. Here's what we're gonna do to a player that's not as good, but he's up there where we're gonna just take him away. I also think, Mac Jones and like Ramondre Stevenson is a decent back. He's nothing special. And then, you go to their other skilled players like Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne. It's all just like meh,
very much so.
Yeah. So for a long-winded answer short, I'm in good spirits about this team right now. I think they have a great opportunity right here, right in the palm of their hands to say, all right, we're not going to let everyone count us out yet and get to frickin' 9-2. So there's a lot for your question.
No, I love the answer. And I think I'm right there with you as far as learning a lot about this team this week, because one thing that was a little bit of a red flag for me during the Cowboys game is I saw them make some adjustments at half. Like, I did see some adjustments, whether they were defensively. I think they tried to make some offensively too, but I did see some show up defensively. The problem was, I don't know if I saw any meaningful adjustments. Like,
Right.
Nothing that they did seemed like it was solving anything that was going wrong. And it just felt like they wanted to stop the bleeding and they just couldn't, which is alarming for me as a fan, because good teams, that's what's going to happen. And hopefully we do that to other teams, right? Like, where we're playing well and they have to make adjustments, right? And the good teams are able to make those adjustments and hopefully keep themselves in a game to hopefully come back and win a game. And I think we've been able to do some of that this year. Obviously, we've had a lot of close wins, but it was alarming to me that it just felt like a mixture of, I'm sure, factors, but we just didn't have any answers. And now we have the pivot from being blown out, as you mentioned, to playing this primetime game. And then the hope is, and I get it's a short week, but we see some adjustments again going into this Thursday night game where we can feel good as a fan base and go, okay, when we get knocked down to the mat, there's some answers that are there. We still have some more tools in the toolbox here for us to reach into and hopefully get back to some winning football. Because we felt super flat on Sunday and it was pretty gross. But I'm like you, I'm pretty optimistic. I think this team has a ton of talent. Mac Jones doesn't scare me too much. To be honest with you, I'm happy they're starting Jones. I'd be a little more worried about stupid Zap, only because anytime you play a guy that's got a lot to prove, I think, and that's why I think we saw some success from him earlier this year. That scares me a little more than Mac Jones. Just Mac Jones doesn't do a lot for me.
I agree. He's like, what do we, he's not going to go drop 4 touchdowns on us. He's not, I don't even see, I hope we don't get put on a frontline page of Old Takes Exposed here, but I don't see a receiver even sniffing 100 yards, any one of them. And like I said, line this up for Old Takes Exposed. I'll go down with this ship. He's not going to step up and just drop a couple of 60-yard dimes downfield to like I said, and Jacoby Myers is a good receiver. Devontae Parker's a little old, but he's still got some stuff there. And Stevenson, like I said, he's a good back. But
oh sure,
yeah, but he doesn't. There's no reason why we can't go out there and put our foot on the gas for 60 minutes, not for 15, not for 30. Not for about 37 minutes and 8 seconds where we do this lull where we punt and just go and be productive. I don't care if we go for it on 4th down on the opposite or on our side of the 50. If we fail, we fail. I'd rather see a team, kind of look a little pissed off here where KOC is going to be like, all right, this isn't happening again. We're going to get put back on the map. But yeah, Mac Jones he is what he is. And with Zap, he's got a little bit of a running room, running power as well. And how we do that, how that's done to us in the past with backup quarterbacks that can run a little bit.
Yeah. Well, my least favorite thing about Zap is his name, because it's Zappe, and it's Zap, but it makes me feel like I don't know if you ever see the vitamin shop stores, and it's Shoppe, and I want to say Shoppy, but I realize that exposes me as this uneducated person. So I see Zap, and it makes me feel bad about myself. So it's just something I'm working through, Eli, a little bit.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of funny nicknames too, like the Zappy Hour, which yeah, but it's all I think they do it because they know it's pronounced wrong, so it makes it that much more funny. But yeah, it and like I said, it's a lot of this, like the reason the line is it's either 2.5 at some books, but it's right there between 2.5. I think it's just the Belichick factor. If they have any other head coach, I don't see how this isn't a 6 to 7 to 8 point spread for Minnesota.
Well, I thought Vegas was off the rocker last week because in my mind, I thought to myself, you've got the Vikings who just took, and I get emotional win. There's obviously overtime, so you're playing extra football, but big win against the Bills. Then you have the Cowboys who lose to Green Bay. And I don't know what it is. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know what it is. I hate them so much. I don't want it to be true. But there's this infatuation with Green Bay where, it's like if they win a game, then they're back, So as bad as they've played this year, the Cowboys lose to the Packers, and then they're kind of like, I mean, there was in Lambeau, it was the Packers. It's like, yeah, but they have like 3 wins. But so you have the Cowboys coming off of a loss to a team that has not played well. The Vikings who went on the road, beat Buffalo in Buffalo, and then we were dogs by like, I don't know what the final line was 3 or 3.5 or 5. It was not a, it wasn't like 2. It was more than that. So I just thought, my goodness, like how are we not favored in this game? And clearly Vegas is smarter than I am, which is no surprise to anybody. But I'm happy to see us favored. Thank you, Vegas gods.
Yeah,
maybe they'll bring us some good luck.
Which I think that, and basically what Vegas was doing was just kind of saying, here, take our bait, take the Vikings. We want you to take the Vikings, which is just, it's crazy. I don't know how they do it or what they know. I say this every week, but it is nice to see us favored. If we were underdogs, that would be something would be wrong, and because Vegas knows. So, but us being -2, I think this is kind of just the flip side is where they're. I don't know who would take the Patriots. I try to stay away from the Vikings when I bet too, just because I'm such a homer and I'm so biased that I've never bet. I can tell you, I've never bet against the Vikings. It's never happened. So anything I say when it comes to the
bet against the Vikings. I bet against the Vikings once this year, and I did it publicly on this podcast. So I will eat my words. It was against the Cardinals, and I did it, and I'm glad they proved me wrong. Yeah. So there you have it.
It's
And
kind of
actually, that's a nice little segue. We'll just kind of start with the Vikes game then, since we're already talking about it. Yeah, we've got Pats at Vikes, talking some betting lines and anything fantasy related you want to bring up here. But yeah, Vikes currently are, at least as of this recording, 2.5, are picked by 2.5. Over unders at 42.5, which I think is pretty fair. But what do you think about those numbers? I know we talked about the line a little bit, but maybe the over and under. How are you feeling about that?
so for 42, and I was just talking to my buddy about this today, he's not as much as a Vikings fan. He's just kind of a football, one of those, those neutral fans that just watch it and bet on it.
Sure.
And he's like, all I'm seeing is the public hammering the under because they don't think the Patriots can keep up with their offense isn't going to really help that over at all, right? But he's like, I think people are forgetting, if the Vikings score like 14 points is not a lot from an offense, and so you're at 14. Let's say the Vikings do get pissed off and go drop a 30 burger. Well, there's your over right there at 44, like 44. You know what I mean? He's like, it's a pretty simple factor where the Vikings can kind of dominate this game, and he goes, and he's like, well, why would I take the spread? Well, because it could easily go what it did against Dallas too, where he doesn't see it going that way, but. So I would lean over just because it's more of the under is just kind of, I like to just stay away from the public. Obviously that's kind of a basic answer, but I know some people who just tail the public, which I don't think that ever works out the best.
Yeah.
But 42.5 is not a ton of points in an NFL football game. Like even if there's so many different ways and you can factor in, I mean, the Patriots have some special team talent. You saw it last week. They could pop one off for, a punt return. I don't think they'll do it because since we have the Chris Boyd, the best gunner in the NFL.
That's right.
I would lean over on this, and then obviously I'm going to be taking the Vikings -2.5. I might even get a little cocky. We'll see how many Thanksgiving cocktails that I have before I head down to the stadium, but might take an alternate line at maybe -6, -7, but we'll see how I'm feeling.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a couple of few too many cranberry vodkas, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. This one I like the Vikings as well, so I'm gonna take Vikings at 2.5. And I'm with you. I'm gonna take the over just because I think that 42.5 is it's just not a lot of points.
No.
And it's easy, especially if you get into a garbage time situation too, where some points get scored. And I don't know. I see this game being fairly low scoring. But I think we do creep over. I'm going to say it's going to be, I'm going to say this one's going to end up 25-20.
25-20.
That's what I'm going to say.
I like that one.
With maybe a late score by the Patriots to see if they can get back in it. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that 25-20. Is what my gut's telling me.
Yeah, and then there you go. There's a cover and the over. But I've been wrong. Actually, I haven't called for a blowout all year on our show. We kind of do the same thing, but I'm gonna kind of say what I said. I'm gonna go 36-14. Just an absolute and I'm gonna say we're gonna be down early too. Like it's gonna be 14-10 or whatever. I don't know how to do all the math like that. 14-10 will end up with 36 somehow. We'll be down, and then all of a sudden it's just going to be an explosion of a little pick, not even pick six. We'll get a pick, put us in the red zone, touchdown right away, some crazy stuff like that. I think, and it's going to be Vikes are back. So 36-10. You heard it here first.
I like it. Yeah, that's a good. I like your pick. I hope you're right more than myself. That'd be a nice treat. I'd appreciate that.
A sweat-free win.
That's right. The first game we have on the slate on Thursday is going to be Bills at Lions. Big line here. We've got Bills 9.5, highest over under for Thursday. It might even be the highest over under for the week. I'd have to take a look at my other games, but definitely for Thursday. 54.5 is quite a bit of points. I'm personally on this one, and then I'll get your thoughts. I'm taking Bills. I know it's a lot of points, and I hate taking that many points, but I think the Bills are going to just take it to them. And not to say that the Lions won't have any fight. I think it'll be a good game. I think there'll definitely be some scoring, but I think they win by 14 plus. That's my outlook there. And gosh, it's so many points on that over and under.
Right.
it's gonna be close. I will tentatively take the over, but boy, I could see it still being a lot of points and them scoring like 51.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of see what happens. But yeah, I'll take the Bills in the over.
Yeah, 54 is a lot, and I with two. It's just with the NFL, 2 possession spreads are just so tough. I think this is one of those where it's don't overthink it and just take the Bills. So I decided today while I was eating lunch, I said I'm gonna tease this a little 6-point teaser action so I'm gonna knock that Bills spread down to 3.5, which hopefully they can manage that. I think they'll cover that, and then I'm just gonna tease it with a little teaser parlay with the under, and I'm going to knock that down 6.5 or over. Sorry, where it knocks it down 6.5. So they put it at what 48? Yeah, 48.5. Because I think a tentative over is right. Geez, 54. It's a lot.
It's a lot of points. And Thursday games historically are weird games. Like I know this is different because it's the holiday and we've got a whole lineup of games, but they're still Thursday games. They're still games played on a short week, and Thursday night games. Just I typically stay away from them from a fantasy and a betting perspective because they just get wonky and weird. So yeah, this could be one where the over under is 54.5, and then it's like the Bills win 17-6. And you're like, oh.
It's something weird. It's a slow, boring game. Allen's not being figured out. And hey, the Lions have been a little feisty lately. They took it to I would say not a great New York Giants team, but a decent to good Giants team. So if I wasn't teasing, I would never take the Lions to cover against the Bills. So I don't hate the -9.5 either.
Yeah. And from a fantasy perspective, I am targeting definitely Allen, Diggs. I like Singletary too this week, and if you're playing a little daily fantasy, you could try to get sneaky with Cook as well, just because he'll be super cheap and the matchup is super plus matchup this week. I forgot to mention. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, are you a DraftKings or FanDuel kind of guy?
I do both, but I primarily play FanDuel.
Yeah. Okay. I do. Yeah. I'm the same, but I primarily just do DraftKings. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the only difference is I think FanDuel is half PPR and DraftKings is full PPR. I think.
Yep, it's half and full, and then just the pricing's different, but in a sense, it all is the same anyway because you get the same the salaries.
Yeah. So for that Vikes game, I forgot to mention I am a little timid with that game just because of the matchup on paper, but I have put some Thursday only lineups together, and I am targeting Hawkinson quite a bit because New England struggled a bit, and they're absolutely one of the worst teams against tight ends in the red zone. So looking for him to hopefully get his hands on at least one touchdown ball might be key on Thursday. And then let me know when you can hear me. I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me now?
There we go. I got you now.
Hey.
There we
go. Oh, see that's why I record and I don't go live.
Yep. That's why we do the same thing because you never know. I don't know what happened with that. You were saying it was weird. It just kind of cut off. But right at when you're saying Hawkinson, so for a red zone target because the Patriots are fairly weak against red zone tight ends.
Yeah. So no, loving Hawkinson this week. Not great against tight ends, especially in the red zone. And then the dark horse for me with the Vikings this week. Again, just if you're looking to save some money, and it's obviously a riskier play because you're trying to save money here. But I think Thielen might be a little bit of a sneaky play this week. I'm not saying he's going to get 25 points. I just think that Belichick does a great job of taking away the one thing that you do want to do. And what do the Vikings want to do? They want to go to Jefferson. Yep. So I think Jefferson's going to have a tough day. But that's going to open things up for guys like Thielen and Osborne. And because they struggle against tight ends, I think Thielen's a little more susceptible to playing some of those underneath routes like a tight end would. So that's why I like Thielen just a little bit more than Osborne.
And it's so I will say so in my one lineup I'm gonna play Jefferson and Cook just because I'm going to the game just for the homer side of things. It's just
You have to.
you have to, right? It just makes it that much more fun for guys to root for. But yeah, that was one of my one. Thielen's on DraftKings right now is 4,900. So I say right, he is 4,900. They're not gonna change the price.
Yeah.
Huge if you want to try and sneak in like a Lamb or if you want to try and get Diggs, Lamb, a combination of Diggs, Lamb, and St. Brown. I think you could probably only be able to do 2 of the 3. But if you toss Thielen in there, and then Singletary's a little bit cheaper of a running back as well. I like him. I was gonna say that on my dark horse for DraftKings. I like that I got a DraftKings guy here. Not many people that else I talk to play it that much, which is crazy because that's like the only form of legitimate gambling you can do on an app.
Exactly.
But I am gonna take a stab at Goff at quarterback only because I could just see some garbage time, squeaking in that, or even if it's like, let's say the Bills cover a 10-point spread, the Bills could cover, but Goff could easily still throw 2-3 touchdowns to. I mean, the Lions are just kind of a sneaky team. They'll hang around. They'll throw some late touchdowns at the end. So cheap quarterback that'll allow you to really load up on the receivers. I don't know how I'm feeling about Tony Pollard right now. I think everyone's going to be on him just because what he did to us. I don't think he's going to do that again. 106 some receiving yards is just outrageous for a running back. But yeah, so there's my dark horse for you. As a cheap quarterback, roll Goff and just pray for some garbage.
There you go. Yeah, in that Vikes game, the only other one I was going to mention was I do like Ramondre Stevenson a bit because he is their primary pass catching back. And the Vikings, even outside of last week, I know recency bias because of the Pollard stuff, but even if you take away what happened last week, the Vikings are a bit soft. I mean, obviously we really got exploited for that this last week, but I don't see a ton of weapons there. We already talked about it with Myers. If you wanted to go with Myers, he's relatively cheap out there on either FanDuel or DraftKings. But I think, ultimately, if I'm playing a Patriot, it's probably Stevenson. His floor is a bit higher. I kind of like the Vikes D. I mean, you actually mentioned, maybe some turnovers, and I do think that might happen. I think a lot of people are looking at the Bills. I don't mind that the Bills play, but with that high of an over-under, and as you mentioned, the Lions can get scrappy. They're the highest. I think they're the highest, or it might be Dallas. Dallas might be the highest. But either way, I'm not playing the Bills. I do like Dallas, but as a sneaky, cheaper play, I kind of like the Vikings defense this weekend as well.
Yeah, they're good. And I don't like spending up for almost to $4,000 for a defense. I try to keep it as close to 3,000 as I can, just because so many dumb things can happen. That's why I've really kind of made myself stop playing Showdown so heavy, because some dumb where was it the Eagles where Devonta Smith throws the ball over his freaking head?
Right.
Are you kidding me? And he loses those yards, and then the defense gets touchdowns. So there's weird things like that. But yeah, the Bills D is just. It's tough to play that and seeing them get 10 to 15 points just because the Lions could easily, Swift could easily break a random one off, or they could throw a bomb to who, God knows who, Bobby Wright or whoever that new tight end is for them. But
right.
If you're really trying to get cheap, don't quote me. I don't hate the Giants defense. I don't hate it. I think that they'll be, if you're looking at ownership wise, they're really not going to be played by many. They're only 2,400 on DraftKings, and I just think Dallas is you go to recency bias. I don't think they're going to drop another 40 burger. And the Brian Daboll's going to have the Giants. It's kind of like the same situation for the Vikings. They just got embarrassed by a bad Detroit. I won't say bad Detroit team, like I said, scrappy. So I can see their defense coming ready to play, and maybe they can get a turnover here or there. But that's just kind of a steep run. I think the Vikings defense is the safest defense play on the slate.
Yeah, that's all that you're not paying up for either, which is always key. Because I'm with you. I'd rather try to find somebody that I can save a bunch of money on, or salary cap on, and maybe they only get me. I'll try to obviously get a good matchup, or at least something I think is advantageous. But if I only end up with 7-8 points or something like that, But if I'm saving a bunch of dough, or I'm making up that and more somewhere else, I'm all for it. So
Exactly.
I'm right there with you. And you already kind of touched on it. The last game of the day is the Giants at Cowboys. Cowboys, same line, massive line, 9.5, and then our over and under is at 45.5. So I'll let you take this one, and then I'll give you my thoughts when you tell me what you think, what you're going to go with here.
Yeah, and I think I kind of just stated it. I just think this line's blown out of proportion just because of what Dallas just did to us. And could I see the Cowboys covering this line? Yeah, but I'm gonna just have to take the Giants and the points because they're kind of one of those teams where it's almost there. I don't want to say, well, I don't know if it's that crazy of a comparison to the Tennessee Titans where they're just gonna kind of drag you in the mud and kind of bog you down in more of a grinded out. I don't want to say boring game because I think it's fun watching Danny Dimes. I'm a big Danny Dimes guy. I love when he randomly pops off a 20-yard run where it looks like he's just going to get tackled for 2. He's weirdly fast, and that's
right.
Fun. That's hilarious. I think so. It's and they obviously have Barkley, who was kind of a bummer last week. So I don't know. I just think Brian Daboll's going to have this team ready to go on Sunday. It's in Dallas, like. It's supposed to be their game. It's the Thanksgiving game, which I don't even know whoever made that a thing because I'm not a big Cowboys fan. So I love watching them lose, especially on Thanksgiving. So I just think that's too many points. I think the Giants. I'm not saying the Giants are going to win. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I'll gladly take the 9.5 and see if they can't just kind of get out early with Danny Dimes run and a Barkley punch in at the end, and their defense is just going to maybe try and keep them in it for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love your take. I think that's a great take. I'm certainly excited about hopefully watching the Cowboys lose. I'm going to definitely take the Giants here. That's a ton of points to me. And then the other aspect, which is kind of a no duh, but just to bring it up, is it's a divisional game. And
Right.
anytime it's a divisional game, those games are generally always tight.
Always.
They know each other well. And the Giants aren't a slouch of a team. And then you have the opposite effect of what we saw with the Vikings, where now you've got the Cowboys coming off of this crazy win against the Vikings. And, there might be a little bit of a hangover there on their end, where they're coming into this game thinking they're, kind of hot shit, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to, play the Giants. And I think the Giants are obviously, like you mentioned, coming off of kind of a tough loss where I thought they were going to win that game, at least going into it. So they're looking to get right. And I think it might be a Thanksgiving Day loss. I think the Giants might win this game. So
I wouldn't be surprised. They're not. I mean, everyone of the two New York teams that have the decent records right now, they're far superior to the Jets because like I said, Danny Dimes is like everyone likes to hate on him. If you watched who did they play Monday night? And everyone was just saying it was a little earlier in the year, and everyone was just hating on. I was like, "Are you guys watching?" He was stepping up in the pocket. He was making guys miss, and then he was getting Kenny Golladay dropping balls left and right. I give the guy some slack, And Darius Slayton's getting healthy now, and he's been a lot. He's another receiver that's fun to watch, where he can break off a monster play at any time. And then obviously, if they're getting killed in the air, Barkley's going to kind of pick that up, where he's going to do a jump cut 3 times and turn a 6-yard loss into a 12-yard gain, and it's going to be the funnest play you'll see of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I hope that the Giants win. The one thing that gives me pause, though, with this over and under is if my narrative is right, and I think that the Giants are going to take it to Dallas, I think that almost favors the under at 45.5. And it's still not a lot of points, but I think if Dallas is, or I should say, if the Giants are going to win this game, I think that means Dallas is not having a great day, which means they're probably not scoring a lot of points. So I'm gonna say, and we don't need to give predictions. I know we didn't on the last one, which again, right. I usually am not in the game of giving predictions, but my gut tells me this one, if it's a Giants win, I think it's going to be something like a 24 to 17.
Yeah,
maybe somewhere in there. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It's fun to see a team. I mean, like Dallas, and I've noticed this from watching a couple of their games. If you fluster them early, they get frustrated. Zeke starts complaining on the sideline, and then everybody gets annoyed because they're like, "Shut up, Zeke! You're not even the starting running back on the team."
Exactly, right? Yeah, and
But
I think Dak can get a little some happy feet. I mean, just like they'd like to talk about Kirk Cousins, I think the same kind of happens with Dak, where if he gets rattled, and I'm no Kirk Cousins hater. I'm not a Cousins hater or a stan. I just try to be realistic about Kirk.
mhm.
But I would say Dak and Kirk are similar in the way that they're very talented, but if they get a little bit off schedule, sometimes it can snowball a little bit, and hopefully hopefully the Giants are able to kind of rattle his cage on that one. So yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna take Giants on that one, and the under. What was your pick on that one? Did I hear it, or maybe I was probably just talking over you because
Well,
I'm a great host.
I just was yapping about every player on the Giants team. So, no, I'm going to take the Giants and the points. I'm going to throw a little, if you do like the unit size betting or whatever, I'm going to throw a half unit on Giants money line because
Yeah.
I just kick myself when I say, that's too many points. It's too many points. And then they freaking win outright. So I'm going to take the Giants cover a little bit on the Giants money line. And then I agree, if for this to work, it's got to be an under game. I don't think the Giants can compete in a shootout, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Giants D is going to be ready to play.
Yeah, it could be a fun one. I think for a lot of people that aren't betting, they'll probably think like, "Oh, what a boring game." But for anybody that's betting, it's like, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
played
yeah.
right into my hands."
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be a fun one.
Well, I've got one final segment for us, Eli, and then we'll wrap up here. We usually do a little fantasy draft, and typically, what I like to do is do a little draft. Which, hey, you can always join us back another time, Eli. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But typically, I'll run through a whole lineup where we draft a standard lineup all the way through flex, defense, kicker, yes, even a kicker, and then we kind of face off of the week, and then look, to anybody that's been listening, and any of my listeners, I understand that I've lost 2 weeks in a row to my guests, and no, that's not why I'm pivoting. It might be a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I just thought it'd be something fun to do, something a little extra since it is Thanksgiving week. That maybe we could draft instead of players. We could draft some Thanksgiving sides. So I'm thinking 3 rounds. Obviously, you'll get your first round pick. That's your number one. And then as we go through the list, and then we'll just go back and forth. Of course, you are my guest, Eli. So I'm going to let you have the first pick, round one, on
Ooh,
Thanksgiving sides.
all right. I love it. It's funny. We were just talking about this the other day because there's some controversial topics in this category where some people don't consider. The big one was the mac and cheese bit, where some people don't consider mac and cheese a side on Thanksgiving, and a lot of people, it's about 50-50 from what I've heard. So certainly can't get controversial with the first overall pick. So I'm going to take the easy one, and it's my number one. It's by far, I could eat this just as a meal itself, and that's stuffing. You got to have the stuffing, right? That's
Ooh, go with stuffing.
stuffing number one, first pick, first overall. There's no off-field controversy with it, so that's just a no-brainer in my opinion.
Now, let me ask you a question about the stuffing. So, if you had to choose, do you want the OG stuffing that comes out of the bird, or do you want like the oven stovetop stuffing where they mix it in, with the saucepan and all that? Which one would you prefer?
I gotta go with the kind of the more basic, the stovetop bit where it's all mixed in, and it's sort of that. I'm not saying the bird is anything. There's nothing wrong with that. I've never not hating on that as well because I'm a all stuffing here, But yeah, I'd say the stovetop is so the stovetop stuffing for the correct term for my first pick in the 2022
Very
Thanksgiving
nice.
side draft.
Well, I'm glad you didn't snipe my first round pick because I'm going for the low hanging fruit here. And I got to go with the taters, man. The mashed potatoes have to be round one, first overall for me. I don't even know what I'd do with myself if
Yep.
I went to a Thanksgiving meal and there were no mashed potatoes.
Eh,
And I can go just butter with the salt and pepper. I can go with the gravy. It doesn't matter. It just, they need to be there in some sort of variation. They're delicious. I don't know if I've ever been to a Thanksgiving without mashed potatoes, but just the thought of it makes me a little irrationally angry, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, big that and yeah, that was gonna be my second pick, which is I can't. It's not even a plate. It's not a Thanksgiving plate if you don't have mashed potatoes. If you got the turkey, you got whatever. It's not a plate. So no, that's required.
Exactly.
But so okay, for a second one, then I'm gonna go with because this is something that complements mashed potatoes and gravy very well. Is the a dinner roll? However, now there's a lot of different types of rolls, right? You could
Yes.
go. I mean, there's the croissant style deals, which are phenomenal. There's just the bun, like the Hawaiian bun, which is
Yeah.
what we do a lot, which is one of my favorites. So any type of croissant bun, the biscuit type that you bake them before, they're all welcome here. So I'm going dinner roll for my second pick.
Yeah, that's a fantastic pick. One of the things that I found out last year was the soft rolls. Like you get like the Sara Lee, the soft rolls. I know exactly what you're talking about. Somebody put me onto this, and I had to look at it, and they were correct. Is on the back of the package, it actually tells you to like take them out and bake them for
Oh,
longer. So they're
oh,
not basically just like dough. And I'm going to tell you the type of trash person that I am is I know this information and I still just want to eat the dough. I don't care. I am going to eat it as is. I like the fact that it's soft and spongy, so I'm not baking them. But it does say on the back of the package. Now I've ruined it for you. It does tell you to bake them for longer than just getting them out of the package.
I love that. I did not know that, but I'll still do
Yeah.
the same. I'm gonna eat the dough.
Yeah, I know. Exact. Give me that turkey mayo dough sandwich.
Yep.
Uh, I'm gonna go with my second round pick. I feel like this. I might be able to get this in the third round, but I'm gonna reach a little bit. I'm gonna do my best Spielman impression. We're gonna reach here. No shade on Spielman. I like Spielman, but I'm gonna go corn. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go corn, and I'm gonna say on or off the cob doesn't matter. I feel like on the cob's a little weird at Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
but I'm going corn. I think it's a solid choice. Butter, salt, pepper. Keep it simple.
Love it. And so for my third pick, then I'll just roll this one. This kind of fell perfectly the Spielman way. Because it's the controversial one. I'm not saying it's not an entree, but it could be. I'm going mac and cheese, man. I think you can mix it in with your corn, the corn mac and cheese. Even get a little bit of mashed potatoes and gravy in there. It
Oh
all
yeah.
it all blends together beautifully. So I'm going with. I'm not saying it's either an entree or a side, but I guess I'm labeling. Well, I'll backtrack that. I think it's kind of a side, but I could eat it whole as just an entree as well. So I'm going with the
I
mac.
think I'm with you. I think the mac and cheese is a side. I think
Yeah.
mac and cheese is a side. I spent some years living down in the South, so I
Oh
lived
yeah.
down in North Carolina for a while. I grew up kind of down there, and now I live in the Midwest. Hence, Vikings. I've always been a big Vikings fan, but I experience more mac and cheese as a side for Thanksgiving down south than I have in the Midwest. I feel like in the Midwest it's a little touch and go. I don't
Yeah.
see it as much. Um, so I'm gonna go round three here. Ooh, and I'm not gonna go desserts because these are sides.
Right.
Um, even though rules are made to be broken, right?
Yeah,
But
right. Hey, it's your side.
I'm gonna go controversial here, and again, I'm not baking those rolls. Not only am I not baking the soft rolls, I am having the cranberry sauce that you just slice off like a log of you slice just a sheet of bologna off of that log of cranberry. I'm going with that number three. I love that cranberry log. I don't care what anybody says. It's delicious. Don't give me the real stuff that has real cranberries in it. I don't want it. I want whatever's coming out of that can. It's probably been sitting up in a shelf for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I love that cranberry log.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good one there. I consider that a side. Yeah, that cranberry log's dangerous because that again, it mixes well. Anything aside that mixes
Yeah.
well with other things, it's a side. So
Yeah.
that's,
Well, I
that's
saw this. I'll give you this, and then we'll close up for today. But you mentioned having a few festive cocktails,
yep.
and I saw a cocktail. I think it was on TikTok. Thank God, thank goodness for TikTok. It was a whiskey ginger, but then they put in a little bit of that cranberry log jelly, and then they like whisked it up. And so that was like this cranberry log whiskey ginger
Yep.
cocktail, and that
Ooh,
just looked amazing to me.
that's so
Which is basically just like cranberry juice and a whiskey ginger. But
yeah,
I
right.
don't care. It's the taste. It tastes different. I don't know.
Sounds
Can't tell me. Can't tell me anything's wrong with that.
Right.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Eli. It was amazing having you. Thank you so much. Super fun. Before we head out, where can people find you and all of the amazing media that you guys are putting out on the interwebs?
Yeah, no, I thank you for having me. I would love to do this again. I'd love to have you on State of Skol at any time. So we'll maybe when it gets a little closer to playoff time, we can kind of ramp up some content. I think that'd be fun. And well, knock on wood, right? Granted, anything crazy doesn't happen, but
Right.
so I think that'd be fun. Our main Twitter page for the podcast is State of Skol. So at 10K and then underscore SOS. Someone took just State of Skol and State of Skol 1. So we had to get creative there. So at 10K underscore SOS for where we tweet out our show clips, and then we try to tweet some funny content out during the week. Then the main page is 10,000 Takes, it's been a blast, working with those guys. I've been there for a few years now, and but yeah, so that's just let me get this right, because we had a little Twitter issue about a year ago where Celine Dion got us banned from Twitter for a while. Our main page, so that's a whole nother story that we could get into on the next show. So it's just okay. We got it back. So it's just at 10K underscore takes. So at 10K underscore takes and at 10K underscore SOS, and that's where you can get the brunt of our content.
Awesome. Well, Eli, again, it was a pleasure. Thank you again for joining me. And yeah, anytime you guys want to do a little collab, you let me know. We're certainly here. And yes, it will be playoff time, and we will still be relevant.
Yeah, I agree as well.
But no, I appreciate it a lot, man. You have a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday. We always like to close the game up with a little Skol Vikes. So guess what? Skol Vikes, baby.
Skol Vikes, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Absolutely.